Hello student, welcome to the lecture on development in petro retail sector. And after this lecture, we will be able to learn the following objectives. Understand franchising and retail models in petroleum sector. Explain franchising models in the petroleum industry. Define administered price mechanism. Discuss deregulation in the petroleum sector. Describe loyalty program in petro retail business. Explain emergency roadside assistance. Let's start with the concept of development in petro retail sector. Petroleum is a fossil fuel. Petroleum is often called crude oil or just oil. It is considered a fossil fuel because it was formed from the remains of tiny sea plants and animals that died millions of years ago. When the plants and animals died, they sank to the bottom of the oceans. Over time, they were buried by thousands of feet of sand and sediment, which turned into sedimentary rock. As the layers increased, they pressed harder and harder on the decayed remains at the bottom. The heat and pressure eventually changed the remains into petroleum. Petroleum is classified as a non-renewable energy source because it takes millions of years to form. We cannot make new petroleum reserves in a short period of time. Even though oil and natural gas come from ancient plant and animal matter in geological time, they are young. Most oil comes from rocks that are about 400 million years old or younger. Scientists believe the Earth is over 4 billion years old, with life existing on Earth for about 3.7 billion years. Dinosaurs first roamed the Earth about 248 million years ago. Like all living things, petroleum is a mixture made of several carbon compounds such as hydrogen butanes and olefins and is an excellent source of energy. Because the living things that turned into petroleum did not have the opportunity to complete the decay process, there is a great deal of chemical energy in their molecular bonds. People have used petroleum since ancient times. The early Chinese and Egyptians burnt oil to light their homes. Before the 1850s, Americans used whale oil to light their homes. When whales became scarce, people skimmed the crude oil that seeped to the surface of ponds and streams.
Extraction of petroleum. Petroleum or rock oil, as it literally means, is a vital mineral that makes the backbone of our economy today. In this module, let us understand the very basics of the vast science and technology involved in the extraction of petroleum, the black gold. What is petroleum? Petroleum is a dark brown or greenish, viscous, inflammable liquid made up of a complex mixture of several hydrocarbons. Petroleum was formed in nature over hundreds of years, largely from the photosynthetic microscopic organisms like planktons and bacteria that, along with soil, get deposited on the ocean beds. Occurrence of petroleum. Petroleum occurs in nature in the permeable reservoir rocks capped by the impermeable rocks that prevent it from leaking out to the surface of the earth. Such geological structures are called oil traps. These could be present on shore or offshore under the sea. Petroleum occurs along with salt water and pressurized natural gas below the impervious rock layers in the porous rock strata, some 500 to 5,000 meters in the interior of the earth. Observe the diagrammatic view of an oil trap shown here. Extraction of petroleum. The first step is a systematic search for petroleum-bearing areas called oil prospecting. After locating an oil trap and making sure that the site is suitable for drilling, the equipment is transported to the site. An oil rig is set up on top of the determined site to take out crude oil. It is a metallic structure with a platform that houses drilling machinery and pipes for the oil well. A rotary drill bores a hole in the ground or seabed through the impervious rock layers to the oil-bearing rocks and sand. Pipes are laid to reach the oil layer. As the oil reaches the surface, the dissolved natural gas escapes into the air. These days, natural gas, being a precious fuel source, is usually pumped away by a pipeline for further use. When the pressure of the natural gas subsides, crude oil is pumped out mechanically with compressed air pumps. The foaming dark-colored crude oil is freed from suspended solids and dissolved gases by means of mechanical separators. The crude oil and natural gas are obtained at the oil rig, are transported by separate pipelines for further processing and use.
Let us now discuss the franchising and retail models in petroleum sector. In recent years, the emergence of franchising as a channel of trade, organized or dealer-owned, franchise-operated COFO or DOFO has seen less polarizing options, with the level of control and margin capture more balanced between both parties. Franchising also brings entrepreneurial focus and passion to the operation, driving higher standards. In Europe, BP has been successful both at rolling out DOFO franchise operation for its BP Connect retail offer in the UK, as well as exerting increased level of control and margin capture from COFO operations across a number of European markets. In the USA, ExxonMobil have extended their on-the-run franchise from DOFO sites into JOFO, jobber-owned franchise-operated, opening a total of 450 franchise sites in the USA, and have now sold the franchise to Circle K, a major C-store operator. Outside of the oil industry and into wider retailing and food service, a number of global food and coffee players, McDonald's, Starbucks, Burger King, KFC and others, and apparel retailers Marks & Spencer, H&M, Nike and Reebok have expanded rapidly, especially in the Middle East, Eastern and Central Europe and India and China. We believe the early adoption and success of franchising in retail and food is an indication that franchising is a business model that can be deployed successfully in oil industry retail. Operational improvement. Closely linked to channel of trade is operational improvement and operational cost to deliver a retail offer across multi-site networks. We define operational improvement as all on-site costs as well as cost to service field-based support teams. The increasing level of complexity of retail offers, increasing regulation in many markets and increased focus on health and safety have all increased operational complexity and cost across all channels. This also poses a challenge for organizations looking to expand into retail in new or existing markets, and so adopting the principles outlined in document from the start can help drive strong returns from the start. In many markets, oil organizations have attempted to simplify and reduce cost through reducing channels of trade and focusing on implementation of operational models across larger number of sites. Shell Retail in the UK would be a good example of this, with Shell moving to operate all 900 UK sites either as DODO sites or commission operated for organized owned sites. However, implementing efficient operational models has been a continued challenge for oil organization, and based on our experience, there are a number of reasons why programs are not successful. Key reasons are that they are too complex and attempt to tackle multiple issues. They focus on cost reduction, not on sales and margin building. They are too restrictive and do not allow the site manager any flex or latitude. Despite these challenges, we believe and have experience of designing and implementing lean retail program to drive operational improvement. The key elements of successful program have included initial assessment of the realistic opportunity or price to allow realistic targets to be set, a focused toolkit of tools, processes and management information targeting major on-site cost blocks as well as building sales and margin through upselling and other tools, supported by structured visit plans to drive efficient off-site field support. Initial implementation lead by peers rather than head office experts. Focus on long-term sustainability of implementation using peer group review of how each site continues to implement program over time. Allowing site managers to flex the implementation of program as long as they achieve the minimum opportunity or price at site level. Organizational efficiency. In addition to managing operational improvement, organizational efficiency that we define as the head office of site organizational structure and support costs to support the retail site network is a third driver to maximize returns from a retail network. Among many oil retailers, we see evidence that following changes to channel of trade going from high involvement, higher cost channels such as COCO and or having implemented operational improvement program to reduce cost, retailers are slow to implement appropriate organizational efficiency program to reduce costs and complexity in line with the new channel and operating models. Now moving on to the next topic, we will study the franchising models in the petroleum industry. Franchising is method of business expansion and product or service distribution. Franchising is a business model under which a person, the franchisor, for a regular payment, royalty and other fees, grants to another, the franchisee, the right to market a product or service using the trademark, service mark, trade name, brand name and business methods of the franchisor. The word franchise is of Anglo-French derivation and comes from an Anglo-French word that means liberty. The main types of franchising. There are two main types of franchising: product distribution franchising, also referred to as traditional format franchising, and business format franchising. Types of franchising arrangements. A number of franchise arrangements are possible. These include single unit franchising, multiple unit franchising, area development arrangements, joint venture with a domestic subsidiary, and master franchising. Single unit franchise is the most common and also the simplest form of franchising arrangement. Under a single unit franchise arrangement, the franchisee acquires the right to open and operate only one franchise unit. A single unit franchise arrangement can evolve into multiple unit franchising if a franchisee with a single unit franchise buys additional single unit franchises from the same franchisor. These alternatives to franchising. Franchising is not the only way to get into business, create wealth, expand a business or achieve rapid scale. The benefits of the franchise model. Franchising provides benefits for both seller and buyer. For franchisers, the primary benefit is the ability to use people's money to expand the brand more rapidly than they could either on their own or through investors or lenders. The initial franchise fee and ongoing royalties they collect allow franchisers to build their brand without sacrificing control to outsiders or the pressure of repaying lenders. Follow the system is a mantra in franchising and critical to a franchise success. Franchisees buy into the franchisor's operating system, believing that if they follow it to the letter, they will succeed and be profitable. Smart franchisers are always open to suggestions for change as well as local or regional variations. from their franchisees, but any franchisee departing from the system without franchise approval risks violating the terms of the franchisee agreement, which can result in revocation of the franchisee's right to do business under the franchisor's name. Let's know the meaning of Administered Price Mechanism, APM. The country has traditionally operated under an administered pricing mechanism for petroleum products. This system, introduced in 1970, is based on the retention price concept, under which the oil refineries, oil marketing organization, and the pipelines are compensated for operating costs and are assured a return of 12% post-tax on net worth. Under this concept, a fixed level of profitability for the oil organization is ensured, subject to their achieving their specified capacity utilization. Upstream organization, namely ONGC, Oil and GAIL, were also under retention price concept and are assured a fixed return. Subsequent to the dismantling of Administered Pricing Mechanism, APM, in the petroleum sector with effect from 1st April 2002, the Oil Coordination Committee, OCC, was abolished and a new cell, the Petroleum Planning and Analysis Cell, PPAC, was created and attached to the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas to assist in discharge of some of the functions earlier performed by OCC. Free imports are permitted for almost all petroleum products. Minimum Support Price, MSP. In recognition of the importance of assuring reasonable produce prices to the farmers, motivating them to adopt improved technology and to promote investment by them in farm enterprises, the Agricultural Prices Commission, currently known as the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, was established in 1965 for advising the government on agricultural prices policy on a continuing basis. The minimum support prices are announced by the Government of India with a view to ensuring remunerative prices to the farmers for their produce on the basis of the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices (CACP) recommendations. The minimum support prices are perceived by the farmers as a guarantee price for their produce from the government. These prices are announced by the government at the commencement of the season to enable them to pursue their efforts with the assurance that the prices would not be allowed to fall the level fixed by the government. Deregulation in the petroleum sector. The recent moves of the government to gradually deregulate the petroleum, oil and lubricants (POL) sector in India as part of the agenda of neoliberal reform has generated discontent among the people. In the run-up to complete deregulation, there are instances of increase in the domestic price of POL products that are proportionately more than the rise in their international prices. In the most recent instance, the diesel price was raised by INR 5 per litre at one go, even without any rise in international prices. These steps are being taken to eliminate the government subsidy on these products in a step-by-step manner. Deregulation of the POL sector is bound to eliminate the direct or indirect subsidies completely. Production, consumption and import-export. The total annual sales of all POL products by the industry in India has been estimated to be approximately 1,480 lakh metric ton during economic year 2011 to 2012. Price of POL products, petrol, diesel, PDS, kerosene and LPG cylinders. Heavily oil importing countries like India would naturally be vulnerable to movements in the international price of crude oil. The average international price of the basket of crudes imported by India increased steeply from INR 133.25 BBL in 2002 to 2003 to INR 417.83 BBL by 2008 to 2009. It softened a bit to INR 3,488 BBL in 2009 to 2010, but went up again to INR 4,250 BBL in 2010 to 2011 and to a high of INR 5,600 BBL during 2011 to 2012 annual average. This poses a serious challenge to macroeconomic stability. The exchange rate has also depreciated since 2007 to 2008 to an average of INR 48 US on an average during 2011 to 2012. Traditionally, a substantial portion of any international oil price shock was absorbed by the government and not passed on to the consumers because of its inflationary consequences as well as detrimental effects on growth, taxes, subsidies and under-recoveries. The government earns huge revenue from the POL sector, which is where it is total expenditure on direct subsidies provided to this sector. The maximum revenue comes from the excise and customs duty, which accrue to the exchequer of the central government, and the second largest component of revenue comes from sales taxes, which accrue to the state exchequers. It is important to note here that while the calculation of under-recovery is based on national import parity prices, part of the under-recovery is also absorbed by the upstream and downstream organization and does not get reflected in either the subsidy bills of the government or in an increase in the stock of oil bonds. Macroeconomic impact of rise in international price of oil. There are three major channels through which the international price of oil affects the economy of major oil importing countries like India, with import channel, price channel, and fiscal channel. A recent technical study based on the NIPFP policy simulation model has tried to explore this complex dynamics through multiple iterations of a simultaneous equation system using real data on the Indian economy. Some of the interesting findings of the empirical exercise are as follows. Following the international oil price shock, even if the government absorbs the entire shock, that is assuming zero pass through, the growth rate comes down slightly because of a worsening of the current account balance. The combined effect of an increase in expenditure due to rise in oil subsidy and increase in revenue via growth results in a slight increase in the fiscal deficit as a proportion to GDP. Loyalty program in Petro retail business. Loyalty programs are a great way to entice customers to keep returning to stores as they seek to gain rewards on routine purchases. Finding the right fit when it comes to a loyalty program will help store operators differentiate their offering and could generate a steady stream of repeat customers. Loyalty card programs benefits. Customer standpoint, today's loyalty card schemes empower the customers to get the most out of every drop of fuel they buy. They are simple and easy to use, which is important for busy customers on the move, and they leave the station with an experience of getting quality fuels whilst earning rewards. There are many key advantages and reasons to choose the fuel loyalty card. Fuel cost savings, security and controls. Fuel cost savings. The fuel cards have one of the most robust fuel saving programs. Using fuel cards usually saves customers 1 to 5% or more on their cost of fuel. This is attained through administrative savings as well as a discount on the cost of fuel. Fuel card can offer customers a cost plus pricing model or retail minus pricing at several locations. Security and controls. The fuel card is as secure as an armored car for fuel purchases. Assign fuel cards to vehicles, drivers or any combination. Lock to pay at the pump only to restrict fuel purchases inside the store. Driver ID and odometer prompting to protect from unauthorized fuel use. Block after hours or weekend fueling. Restrict purchases to specific stations or brands. Fuel only, fuel and maintenance or fuel maintenance and other spending limits can be set for each fuel card per day, week or even month. Fuel transactions can be restricted by dollar or gallon amount or transaction per day, week or month. Emergency roadside assistance. Cars are arguably one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century, and they have become essential to the everyday lives of billions. And with the limitless freedom that cars provide, making it easy to travel as far as a pocketbook can take, it is no wonder people put a lot of time and money into caring for their automobiles. When a road incident occurs, whether it needs a tow or requiring lockout assistance, car owners are turning to roadside assistance plans to keep their cars as well as their families protected. Roadside assistance. What to look for? The roadside assistance plans are the cream of the crop in providing 24/7 emergency roadside services. They will assist with any roadside emergency from setting up a tow to jumping a dead battery. And the plans include loads of extras including retail discounts and concierge service as well as a variety of travel planning tools. Since roadside assistance is tied to safety, the plans also provide a top-rated customer support. Services. There are several important features to look for when choosing a roadside assistance plan. The most important services a roadside assistance plan should provide: 24/7 roadside assistance, lockout assistance, mining roadside adjustments, towing, tire change service, extrication, gasoline delivery, and dead battery services. Customer support. A roadside assistance plan should offer toll-free phone support to answer any questions may have before signing up or to address any concerns once a member. They should also offer email support as an additional option. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learnt in this lecture. In many markets, oil organizations have attempted to simplify and reduce costs through reducing channels of trade and focusing on implementation of operational models across a larger number of sites. The opportunity for the oil organizers is to focus resource on the functions that add value and margin for the partner. The minimum support prices are perceived by the farmers as a guarantee price for their produce from the government. The government earns huge revenue from the POL sector, which is away its total expenditure on direct subsidies provided to this sector. The main purpose of a loyalty program is to retain regular customers, to increase commitment from occasional customers, and to acquire new ones. The roadside assistance plans in our review are the cream of the crop in providing 24/7 emergency roadside services. The Extra Power Fleet Card program is a complete smart card based fleet management solution for fleet operation and corporate for cashless purchase of fuel and lubes from designated retail outlets of Indian Oil through flexible prepaid facilities.